All right, Takeover Blackpool. Let's see if they can live up to the NXT Takeover traditions.
2 hours later.
Well, that was certainly something, wasn't it? For those of you living under a rock, last night WWE hosted its first ever UK pay-per-view under the NXT UK flag. NXT UK Takeover Blackpool emanated from Blackpool, no less, and my word, it was a fucking amazing show. A absolutely stacked card full of amazing matches paired together with a crowd that was so on fire. I'm surprised the places allowed to be open today meant that this show was certainly something. Throw in appearance of two surprise talents and you've got the best night out in Blackpool since Strictly. Now, I can stand here and gush all day long about how good last night's show was, but instead I've taken a few hours out of my Sunday, because that's what I do, to bring you 5 of the best bits that happened on last night's NXT UK Takeover Blackpool. Wow, that's a mouthful. Now, if this show was ever going to work, they needed to start out strong. They needed to come out, grab the fans by the scruff of the neck and say, this is what you are supposed to be watching, and have all the fans go, yeah, all right. Last night, they did that. They sent out 2/3 of British Strong Style. They sent out Mustache Mountain to take on James Drake and Zach Gibson, more commonly known as the Grizzled Young Veterans, to decide who was going to be the first ever NXT UK Tag Team Champions. This match was absolutely amazing. As come to be expected from Mustache Mountain, this match was packed with great tag team wrestling, it was packed with great tag team spots, and the ring psychology to make HBK blush. Now, obviously, the Grizzled Young Veterans and Mustache Mountain have worked together an awful lot on the UK scene. That is a good thing, by the way, so this was always going to be brilliant. So to say putting this match on first was a no-brainer is somewhat of an understatement. Nevertheless, the match was fantastic, well worth a watch, and putting the heels over the faces means that we're going to have that story that we all crave. Let's see some chasing baby faces. Oh, bonus marks for Mustache Mountain for their little attire tribute to the British Bulldogs. Love that. Kind of like you better in tights as well, so good marks. A bit of a personal one now, so I'm going to get this out of the way at point 2. I fecking love Toni Storm. I think she is an absolute marvel both inside and outside the ring, and she looks bloody good in the process as well. So seeing her win the NXT Women's Championship last night from Rhea Ripley was absolutely fantastic. Now, I'm not quite at the Jack Dillinger, Kairi Sane levels of fangirling just yet, but this was very, very good to see. Seeing her overcome the foe that she has been at war with for many weeks and finally getting that win is something that we all look forward to in wrestling, and this story was told perfectly. The match wasn't half bad either. That Storm Zero is a fantastic finisher. Well done, Tony. Now, I don't think it's anything of an overstatement to say that last night every single match on the card delivered. I was going to use this spot and say that the crowd had made the show, but for the first time in a long while on WWE TV, I think the show made the crowd. Now, obviously, being a UK fan myself, I'm going to be biased, but I've never been to a wrestling event in the UK where the crowd hasn't been supportive and invested in what they're seeing. Last night was no different, and last night was one of the best crowds I've seen in a while. Look at that pop when Balor came out. You don't get that anywhere else in the world. Every single match last night did what it set out to do. It got the fans engaged, it got the fans invested, it got the fans excited, and 9 times out of 10 the fans were off their feet, and not just because we hate Zach Gibson. Every single aspect of every single match seemed to be thought out and tailored to that crowd, which is what wrestling should be. You engage the crowd so that you can feed off of them, and that played a massive part last night. It's rare to say on WWE that there's not a bad match on the card. Even some NXT shows have the odd toilet break moment, but last night surely did not. It delivered on every single segment of the show. If I'm being really, really critical, I think the main event went slightly too long, and the bitter end looked like a flick of the finger in comparison to some other moves, but that's just me being critical for the sake of finding something to moan about on this show. Those of you that know me will know that my favourite thing in professional wrestling is story. I don't care who's in the ring or what they're doing, providing there's story and narrative to back it up. Whether it's told over 10 years, 10 months, 10 minutes or one night, that is what I'm looking for. Last night we saw the culmination of a story that sort of got told in one night. It started off a couple of years ago, granted, when Jordan Devlin finally came to the WWE, and he was very, very well touted to be the next Finn Balor. He was even trained by the man. Well, last night the two went at it one-on-one to decide which one was the best and to see whether the trainee could overcome the trainer. Well, it was told brilliantly. They didn't make a big thing about it. It wasn't the focus. Just 1 or 2 lines from Nigel McGuinness and a very, very good promo from Jordan Devlin touting him as the best Irish wrestler in the world set up Balor perfectly to come out and surprise him, and the match delivered as well. Okay, it only came about because of Travis Banks having his knee taken out, not being able to compete, but to put this together in one night and to give me that little bit of narrative throughout what seemingly be a random match, but a little bit of narrative that they've been softly woven through, absolutely perfect. Made this match one of the highlights of the show for me. And without a doubt, number 5, one of the highlights of the show, if not the highlight, was the last 4 minutes. Pete Dunne stood in the ring, he's overcome the main event, he's standing with his title on his shoulder, taking in the plaudits from all of the people around him, and the music changed, and out comes Walter. Walter in WWE. This guy in WWE. He said he would never come. He said WWE had no interest to him a few months ago, and yet here he is. Now, as somebody that has watched Walter an awful lot over the past few months, various times been in the same room as the man, let me tell you, he is an absolute beast, and I cannot wait to see him take to the ring in NXT UK. And the best part of it all is, he looks like he's got his sights firmly set on Pete Dunne and that United Kingdom Championship. The trick to closing any wrestling show, whether it be pay-per-view, weekly show, special, one-off, is to leave me wanting to know what's going to happen next. Leave me, the fan, itching to see more. And that was what this did. Name one fan. Hands up now if you don't want to see Pete Dunne versus Walter. You're one of two things. Either your hands are down or you're lying. Oh, bonus marks for using the ring camp music as well. Absolutely fantastic. There's no better feeling being in an arena when that starts going off and all the fans join in with an entrance music that hasn't got words. Excellent. Right guys, they were my picks for the top 5 best bits from WWE NXT UK Takeover Blackpool. That's still a mouthful to say. I want to know what you guys think. Leave me a comment down below with what your best parts of the show were. But as is customary here at the 5 Minutes of Doom, we're going to have to give this show a rating. I've gushed about how good it was. It's going to get a B+. It was as close to being an A without actually being an A. But we all know that A show mark, that's reserved for the best of the best. I can name 5 shows mainly in the history that were that good. B+ for Takeover last night. That's all we've got time for right now. Make sure you leave us a comment down below with what your best part of NXT TakeOver Blackpool was. Make sure you hit that like button to let us know that you like the video, and consider hitting that subscribe button so you don't miss out on anything here at the 5 Moves of Doom. We will be back in the week to talk about Raw and SmackDown, possibly some other bits. But until then, ciao.